Hi, beautiful mamas from around the world, and welcome back to Mothering in the Dark, where our focus, our intention, and our inspiration is always on igniting you. And in our contemplation station today, we're going to be taking a feel into giving up feeling bad. We usually begin with the Rumi quote of, "Beyond wrong and right, there is a garden, and I'll meet you there." Today, we're going to take a little look into the wrong and right, because we don't want to create a separation or a forbidden space within us that we need to avoid or to favor one over the other. But what we are doing is we are embracing the whole picture, because we can't abandon thought, and we can't have something, even if it's just a kind of thought, that we need to resist or reject or hide away, because then we won't be working in our wholeness, and we won't be allowing every crazy, beautiful, tiny facet of us to serve as a multi-faceted, a multi-dimensional system that it really is. And so I want to start off with a bit of appreciation for the space in us which is in service of wrong and right. And that is our rational mind. Now, if we're thinking, we've chatted a lot about what the dark is and being in the dark, and, making space for us to experience ourselves with more freedom, and perhaps sometimes that comes through insight and perspective, and whichever belief system that gives you comfort and support, you can integrate the way we are speaking today. But we're going to be speaking, I suppose, in an energetic way, or maybe in a way that speaks more to the physics of our system. So let's appreciate that our rational mind is 0 point, and then there's 9 zeros, 1%. So it's a tiny percentage of capacity or of service that it offers to our whole being. And that's significant. If we look at it from, a purely measurement perspective, it seems to be something insignificant. However, if you think about your actual body, the percentage of it that is physical matter is also teeny tiny. I stand to be corrected, but it's somewhere around 2%. But yet we experience this body which could, weigh like 60 kilograms or however much it weighs, or however tall it is. But yet such a tiny percentage of it is actually physical matter. But without that percentage, it wouldn't exist. So when we say that the rational mind, the dualistic thinking, the right and wrong, our ability to think in opposites is such a teeny tiny percentage, it says nothing about the importance of its role and its necessity for the complete system to work together. So I might be personifying it a bit, but the rational mind is aware of its life's design, okay, or it's aware of its design. And that's something that's inherent in every single one of our cells. Every seed has a life design in it. And should it be should it find itself in the optimal environment, that seed knows it's a potato and will grow into a potato, and there's nothing else that it can be except for that potato. And so its potential and its life design is inherent in it. So although I personified the rational mind, it is actually quite impersonal when it comes to doing its job. In knowing its capacity, it is absolutely beautiful, precise, and fantastic, as long as it's only doing what it's built to do, and that is coming to conclusion. And it comes to a conclusion from all the information, which we'll speak about more now in the 99.999% of us. Okay. It collates that information and gives conclusions, not necessarily saying this is the only way to go, but it also gives information with, this idea, this is possible, because it has received all the information that our stored memory, which is not only our DNA that bears all of the information about our physicality, also down to such an exquisite detail. There's also our junk DNA, or our mRNA, which we are only starting to discover now what information and memories and talents and even traumas from ancestry and past generation and experience. It doesn't necessarily always have to be a trauma or a talent. There is just some know-how that we seem to bring or have stored within ourselves. So that information, but stored memories, the amount of information that we have brought in over our life and that our system has taken note of and stored away in its library for the moment that it needs it. There is such a beautiful grace. I know there's a more scientific word, but in the way our body in its highest functioning can hold all the information from beyond what we can even conceive, but yet deliver succinctly just the bits that we need in the moment. And that's why there has been a lot of teaching and emphasis and remembering about the importance of being present. But let's come back down here again, because so the rational mind receives this information, and when this information is received, if it is backed by I suppose if enough time has been given for it to our system to come to a conclusion, whether it's instant or whether it's something we've had to process for a while, then it's not just the information that comes forward, but when that information comes forward, our body responds in a certain way that makes us feel, oh, this is the right thing for me to do, or this is the best option to take, or no, I mustn't go in there. So there's a relationship, and it's a cooperative relationship between our rational mind and the rest of our system. Because our rational mind is also just a small part of our brain's capacity. It's a small part of our brain, but important. It's a beautiful fact finder for us. And where it is extracting all of its information from are the questions and the our awareness and what we're noticing, because we are sending desires and questions and instructions non-stop through our day into our beautiful system. And it is not possible nor desirable for all of those to run themselves through the rational mind, because we have a whole system receiving these desires and plans and computing how it needs to all fit together given the temperature, the feel of the space around us, the feel of the people. And it's just this wonderful system of ours that keeps on computing and rebalancing and evaluating and just wanting to serve our life design, our expansion in its deepest function. And so how the rational mind is serving us is we have our inner world. A lot of this is going on unconsciously or inside of us without needing our attention, because all that is really required of us is in the physical world is giving our attention to the moment where we're at. And within this moment we are noticing and we are sending orders, and these are around our needs and our wants, and these are very keen. So to give you an example of, I walk towards my car, I notice that my tires are going a bit smooth. So this is my rational mind that has noticed that my tires are smooth. Straight away, I send out a want, an order, I want new tires. So at that point, that thought is completely clean. And this system sends it to the rest of the system that this is what's wanted or needed or desired, in the physical world. Now, if I take that observation that I need new tires and I bring it down, okay, then I enter an evaluation on why my tires are smooth. How have I let them get smooth? Why can't I get them now? Is it possible that I could get them? It's because of this that I can't. And there we are. We trapped, we stuck, we've been caught in the darkness and are generating the bad feelings of fear, of anger, of blame, of resentment, which in response make us feel bad and send the message back into the rest of the physical body. So I was saying earlier that our rational mind, the ability to think in opposites and contrast and, try to establish a conclusion that serves these wants and needs, and organization and plans and all of that all we are sending out, is really our servant, okay? Because in a very impersonal way, it just does what it can do. And I would say in the Western world, the emphasis has really been that this rational mind of us, or this way of thinking in terms of right and wrong, is the master, or should be the master. Because if someone is not able to explain something rationally, then we say that, they're not normal, they're not making sense. We disregard information if it can't be expressed in terms of, the rightness and the wrongness, its value or devalue, its, the benefit it will add or the benefit it will take. When it can't be expressed in a measured way, it's sometimes considered abnormal thinking or irrational thinking. And the value of analysis, when it goes beyond what the rational mind is they're capable of, the rational mind will actually send the feeling up that it is feeling bad, but not necessarily in those words. It's just saying that I am not coping. I've been given information to deal with which I'm not designed to deal with. I need more information. So when we give things up, what we're really doing is we're sending the information up into the rest of our system. And when we bringing it down into the measurement of it in the who, what, why, when, and it feels overstimulated, then we aren't experiencing the feeling of our rational mind as our servant. We're feeling that our feelings are the master of us, and that we've got to somehow try and negotiate freedom from this master, which the deeper we go into, or the more we keep on trying to find the reason and the wrongness and the rightness of something which we don't actually have enough information for, the deeper we go into the feeling bad. And when this has been extended for a long period of time, then we start feeling the disorder within our body. And I think a space to add compassion here is when we're saying, we're feeling bad, or if we've chosen to go down, it does feel like, we are choosing badly for ourselves. Or if it's something as simple as an option, then, why would I have spent the last, 5 years actually in a space of fear or in a bad relationship, or, but I'm not coming from the perspective of like, we've chosen our feeling and, we've chosen to get stuck in it. I'm talking about when, for whatever reason, we feel that we are in a space of, whether it's extended or whether it's short, of stress, of feeling unbalanced, of, the frustration and the unfairness and the anger and the one thing after another, any of those feelings are what we're looking at, how we can give them up and not continue to bring them down. The fact that we have brought them down is not an opportunity to then reinforce them by feeling more guilty or feeling more bad or feeling more fear that there's something really wrong with me, that I just cannot release this fear, or I can't get away from not feeling stressed or sad. So, yes, take a breath and make space, because we can get quite trapped in the giving our feelings down motion of it. So just be sure that, even as we are contemplating how we give it up and how that works in our system, make space that you might give it up and then pick it up again, and give it up and pick it up, and that might be the cycle of it, which is neither wrong nor right. And sometimes, the dark feeling that we are giving up, in its light, is so incredibly light that it is only gracious or it's only divine order, or it's only right, poor word, but that it actually takes that time, that we do that release, and it might feel like a seesaw movement, but allow that dance between your systems to be what it is. And don't make leaving or giving up the bad feeling the master or the thief of all your attention and joy. Okay, so there isn't a right or a wrong way to go about releasing the bad. So I often say to my children, don't panic and don't cause panic. Alright? And it's our susceptibility, particularly when our nervous system has been overworked or overstretched. Once again, whether it was like an incident, or whether it's been, you know, the whole house burning down slowly but surely. When our tension, because remember, when there's opposites, there's tension, there's contrast, there's conflict, and that's beautiful in its design, you know, when that has surpassed, okay, any feeling of health, any feeling of comfort, right? And we're in a space where we're starting to feel desperation. Our beautiful system has given that up. It has sent the message out that there's trouble in paradise, or, you know, there's a very big problem going on here, or I can't anymore. It sends out that message, and of course the system gets on board. It gets on board totally, and it starts working smart and not working hard. So it seizes the focus on everything being balanced, and it focuses attention on what can we do. The system, the rational mind over here, is sending out a message, and it's, once again, it's merely just giving information up to the rest of us. And the information that it's giving up is that I am not coping. I'm overstimulated here. I'm being asked to do something that I've allotted a reasonable amount of time to, but we aren't progressing, we aren't expanding. So this is out of my bounds. So it just sends that impersonal message up. This system is not coping here. All right? And for the short term, it is ideal that the system respond like that. That we pull our energy from our imagination, and we pull our energy from anywhere else, and we focus solely in this alertness of what needs to be attended to now. Okay, so in a traumatic experience, our body has the ability to experience it and to then come back into balance and go through recovery and, you know, equalize. But when it is over an extended period of time, when there's been ongoing stress, the body starts sort of aligning in disorder and in dis-ease. And not just the physical body, but as in, you know, I get a disease, but it's about how the systems start communicating with each other, because now they're adapting to long-term suffering or long-term contrast or conflict or tension. And in its loving design of life, what it's going to do is it's going to support you. Okay, so when we are in an extended period of stress, and we are realizing that, you know, the first sign is normally that we experience fatigue, you know, and then it starts being maybe, you know, stronger physical symptoms or emotional symptoms, and, you know, how we socially and emotionally and physically deal with all of that is obviously going to create our unique experience of it. However, so when our body starts shutting down and zoning into relief, restoring, recovery, the quality of our attention really shifts, because it becomes so focused in, and because we zone in on the aspect that is threatening our survival so desperately. And so we become attuned to basically looking out for threat. And when we are in this experience and we bringing it down into whether this should be happening or shouldn't be happening, who's caused it, or what have I done wrong, is this good or is this bad, the anger and the unfairness around it, what that is further doing is confirming that is a reality, and it reinforces those emotions, and it basically deepens them in a way that is what we call in this contemplation station the darkness. Okay, so what, instead of giving it down, because as we've discussed, in service of us, the rational mind does serve us by being able to discriminate the rightness and the wrongness, the validity or the invalidity, the and it gives us beautiful direction. So it's also within our awareness that we mustn't deny any of our feelings. And although, I mean, we've used the word here that we're feeling bad, it's not to relegate them to unwanted or less than feelings. So how do we give it up? And give it up in a way that we're able to honor ourselves, we're able to allow our rational mind to not get overstimulated and not be sending us distress signals all the time. Okay, so let's go into taking our thought in its purity. Right? And I'm feeling something in what a lot of the masters have said, and I know within like the many beautiful religions as well, there's the idea of purifying our thoughts. Okay, I know that when you take that concept and you send it down, it can get quite wiki. But I'm just appreciating here that when we have the thoughts like, I'm angry, or I'm not coping, or I'm so freaking scared with what's happening right now, alright? And we're able to keep it pure from going down into the trenches. That would, that in itself, that it's okay to just have that thought, and it doesn't come with a trauma dump or with the weight and the heaviness. It's just allowed to be the truth of what feels real for you right now, without all the noise. And just in that, it's a moment I suppose that's when I feel peace, when I'm allowed to just think the thought by itself. So what we've spoken to quite a bit is we honoring in when we take that thought in its purity. I'm so freaking scared at the moment, or I'm just not coping, and that's allowed to be okay. And we consciously relax our body, then our physical body, which also is so exquisite in how it serves us, and it in its life design is to be of service to us. It's also not our master that tries to trap us or chain us in any way. And it might be a little bit of a side note, but something which really, really tickles me about the way our major organs work is that our kidneys and our bladder will be the first ones. So we feel fatigue, all right? But then our kidneys and our bladders are the first sort of organs or areas that start noticing imbalance. So every single cell, down to the, there's trillions and trillions of them, are so impersonal, even though they're so beautiful. And I feel very personal about them because it's just so clever. Every cell has but one purpose, and that's homeostasis. That's just to keep the balance. So the communication that they send into each other is like, if that's balanced, then it's just going about its stuff. And that's the communication from the chemicals and the electricity and the waves that come off of that little cell. It's either communicating balance or it's communicating imbalance, right? And then, so if cells in a certain area, say the kidneys are picking up, there's imbalance, I'm going to try and manage this, and it sends out the message, and the other systems come in. So the immune system comes in, we guided to drink more water to try and flush the imbalance out, or drink less water. And so if the bladder's not coping, then the kidney is like, okay, well, I'm going to help you out, and if the kidney fails to cope, then the liver comes in and says, okay, well, I will start compensating here. I will process a lot more of the toxicity for you so that you can try and restore your balance. And all the other systems, the nervous system and the endocrine system and everything about us, are working together to try and address this. And as we know, this could be going on without us. The nervous system might not necessarily be communicating pain yet, or we might not be connected with the pain that it's sending out as a signal, And should the liver become overloaded, then I think it's the lungs next, and then the last one is the heart. And so this system really just tries its best to keep this balance and to protect the order of the design of life, and in that support the bigger picture, the whole system, in being able to grow and expand, okay, which is really, really beautiful. So when we tell our body to relax, even if we just drop our shoulders, okay, because we're having a thought, I'm so freaking scared, right? And that thought we are honoring. We're not sending that thought away at all. We're not sending it down. We are giving it up. Okay, we're giving it up. We're bringing it up to the space of us and to the bigger system of us. And then the minute our body relaxes, it starts instructing our rational mind. Okay, so our nervous system will relax, which will regulate our breathing, which will, stimulate our thought, or send the message to our thoughts like, okay, cool, panic is over. You can now go about just fulfilling your function. You can continue working at your optimal. We don't need to restrict you and have you apply all your efforts in one place. You're now free to be in your best self, in your life design, just checking the balance and imbalance and communicating that throughout. And And so the processing, see down here we're like, oh no, I need to think about my thoughts, I need to process this, where there is a time and a place for that, but it's not when we are feeling bad. It's not when we're in a stuck place about it. So we've centered up, and the processing is happening not through our rational thinking mind, okay? And this is where I think it kind of makes us feel irresponsible or out of control or alone, out of the picture, because we are looking to putting our attention on a really tiny part of our capacity and wanting to find something here that relieves this, okay? But the processing is happening up here, and it's not happening with just one tiny part of the brain. The unconscious brain is there, the subconscious brain is there. As I said, our stored memory and our stored information, which is throughout our body, and in every single cell, starts sort of, responds to the communication that it's getting with information from, we don't necessarily need to know, but information from anywhere within our system, from our previous experiences and from our innate knowing and from the design of our body. Because here our system is so aware of what our capacity is, whereas here in our rational mind, it's not necessarily aware, because it's not really its business. That's part of another thinking brain, another part of our thinking brain. So now our system is starting to relax, and it's starting to work together, and it's bringing in all of this stored information, and it is also doing a read on the current situation, so that the relevant information, so all this information that is coming forward goes through a filter almost of what is relevant to now, okay? Because it won't help us to have an endless amount of information that we then need to process. Okay, so it comes through the filter where we figure out where it's established what is relevant now, taken into consideration. We've discussed before that intuitively we are absorbing and processing information up to 50 meters radius of our body at least. And I think when we just become aware that, we have sometimes received answers in dreams or from instinct or an impulse, we get the sense that there's so much information and so much processing going on that doesn't even run through our thinking mind and our rational mind. And that's okay, because to have more than just the information for one moment completely overloads us and sends us into a space of feeling bad. Okay, so now we have all of our systems on board, and we have our stored information. We have the relevant information for our specifics, where we are at, and then this information is returned to our rational mind. And it is here where we can make discerning choices, where we can feed back again and, adjust our perspectives, where we can send more questions. Okay, so I'm understanding and I'm feeling this in a very different space. And a part of this, and this is where you're going to put your own unique flavor on it, because when we generally talk about giving something up, letting it go, releasing it, for some, it's sufficient to say I'm releasing it into my system and into the trust that there's, enough information and balance within the beings that we are, and for some it is a spiritual act or a ritual or a prayer, and however it works for you. It could be a meditation where you are imagining balloons being cut off, as you are releasing your anger, as you releasing being freaking scared, as you are opening yourself up to more guidance. How you do this can be as simple as a mental process, alright? But because the space that allows you to give it up and to give it up fully is, it's the space of feeling the peace, of being able to feel ourselves relax. And it is that space that basically can hold it up. And even when the habits of, but I haven't figured out this yet, might want to pull it down again, the stronger our space of relaxation is, the more we give it up, the more it is released, the more relief and release and opening to the full growth, expansive answer that can be allowed in the moment or through that process to be so. So it doesn't really matter what you're doing, whether it's a beautiful walk in the park, whether it's breathing exercises, whether it's meditation, prayer, whether it's planting your garden, or whether it's taking a bath, whatever it is, the practice is around the peace more than around, where are my thoughts now? Are they in the right place? Why am I thinking about that again? It's not going into the micromanaging of it. I'm going to say the simplicity of it, or the single space of it, which to me, when I can hold a thought that particularly has been down in the dark and evoked, all these scavengers to come up and chasing me, because that's how scary it is, or that's how trapped it feels, or that's how desperate it feels. For me, when I recognize that I'm having a thought just in its purity, and that okay feeling, that feels like a prayer to me. That feels like freedom to me. That feels like my space. And yes, I know that, once I keep on giving it up, once I keep on releasing it and keep on coming back to that space of peace, and that for me is kind of not a conclusion, but where I feel the prayer, the closeness with I suppose the freedom and the peace and the openness that is so different to the mundane, or the trap, the repetition, and that stuckness in the duality, or between the wrong and right. And so when we are seeking an answer in our rational mind, or the answer to a question, our peace is often suspended until we feel that we have gotten that exact answer. And here, I think what has been surprising or delighting or just, I'm just so happy that it's there. It's in the giving up. I think that the first answer comes for me. The first place of feeling set free from the darkness. And while this processing is going on, you know, to answer the question on the level that we will receive it here, because we've also contemplated before in the episodes of, you know, the spiral and the circular nature of our questioning and our finding our answers and our journey and our path. And so in this space where all our thought and all our information is allowed to participate on our many, many questions, it is not a similar rhythm as it is down here where I have my question and then I get my answer and I have peace. There are many moments of answers and of peace and of insights and of different perspectives as we coming in or like zoning in onto the answer for like that moment. And like I said, it's free of time. We might have our response and be clear on how to respond in the moment, but that the answers continue to unfold and the perspectives as we go deeper and honor the nature of how we grow and how we learn in our cycles, and enjoying our space and our attention and our awareness within that. And as we release our attention and our pressure from just being in the duality, our physical body starts to feel the return of our energy and the fatigue, the inertia, the heaviness, I want to say sleepness, but I'm not saying that if we're feeling sleepy it's necessarily a bad thing, but the listlessness from feeling too bad for too long brings its release and its layers and its levels and its answers in this process. So part of that angst which our rational mind has of I've put out a question and I'm waiting for the answer is soothed in the process as we can feel the bits of information sort of coming in and adding to the pot. And as we give more and more space to allow more and more of us to participate and to be ignited, so we unfold and so we expand. And it's not that we have cut out or taken away the possibility of ever feeling bad again or ever feeling fearful again, but what we have done is we've transmuted that level of fear, and we've had the experience of being able to let it go and feel it come back to us and serve us in a way that didn't require our micromanagement, and connected us into this mind-blowing possibility of, I wonder how I knew that. I felt that. Oh, I've actually been doing that all my life. And so this is where the ignition of you starts really just coloring in. And it turns out that it's not necessarily the answer that releases us from feeling bad, but the way that we come to it and the dimensions and the multifacets of all of us that we are feeling, that we are now communicating to. And it alleviates the feeling alone. It alleviates the darkest feelings of anger, of guilt, of our resentments. And it keeps on bringing in not only higher perspective, because it's been transmuted now. So it's received more information that was helpful, so it lightened it. So the ability to return on that topic to that level of feeling bad has shifted. It's enlightened. It's, and so our space opens more, so our opportunities open more, and so we open more. And so continues this beautiful unfolding of us. So mamas, thank you so much for staying with me through this contemplation. I really hope that it has brought you some peace today. Remember that I post on a Tuesday and a Thursday, and if today resonated with you and you enjoyed it, or there's a topic that you'd like me to consider, please feel free to comment, like, and subscribe. And if you would like a private reading for me, that info will also be down in the description box. And until next time, lots and lots of love.